Alright, today in the Smokin Brothers kitchen we're going to talk about pork butts. There's a lot of people that do pork butts several different ways. On our grills, they're probably one of the easiest ways is what I'm going to tell you. Now the first thing you do when you go to the grocery store to look for a pork butt, you really want to try to get a pork butt that has this white piece right here called the fat cap all the way across it. Okay, I bought this one specifically for this because I wanted to show you what not to get. This one has a muscle right there showing because they had skinned that fat cap off. You want to try to get it where the fat cap goes all the way across it. You can usually do this by going directly to a butcher and he'll give you the pick of the litter. Basically, you tell him what you're doing, if you're doing a competition or you're just wanting to have a specific thing done. When you have more of a fat cap on there, that pork stays juicier and more tender as it cooks. So that's the one thing I always look for in my pork butt. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and season this up. We're going to use Plus the kitchen sink to season it. And what you want to do when you season with Plus the kitchen sink, you can get very, very liberal with your seasoning. You can go on there real good. Now a lot of people will make the mistake when they put a rub on, they'll sit there and they'll rub it. Well, when they do that, you can kind of see how there's a line built up there as seasoning, a line built up of there as seasoning, and so forth. What you really want to do is put it on like that and then come back with the palm of your hand and press that seasoning down in there. That accomplishes two things. It gives you a nice even coat of seasoning. Then also what it does, it allows you to go ahead and seal in that seasoning into the fat. It embeds it into the fat cap. So you want to make sure to get all around it. You can be very, very generous with the seasoning. Also, what you want to do is go ahead and rinse off your pork butt before you start to season it. The main reason being because whenever the butcher cuts it, sometimes they'll have bone spurs or bone splinters that will get on the pork, and you want to make sure all that is off of it before you season it. All right. Now right now we're going to be cooking this on a 30-inch Premier. It's one of our insulated version of grills. Now I have it set at 180, and that's what I start out with. And I'll go 180 for 2 hours on 180 degrees for 2 hours with this pork butt fat cap up. Then after 2 hours, I will actually go outside and adjust the temperature to 225. And I'll take that 225 and leave that on there approximately about 4 more hours. And then we'll go out and check it together because I'm looking for an internal temp of 160 is what I'm looking for. Because when it reaches 160, you're going to want to take it, wrap it in foil, and then put it back on the grill and turn your grill up to 250. And then you take it off when it reaches 195 degrees, which is generally about an hour and a half to 2 hours after you put it back on the grill in the foil. We're going to go outside and put this on our grill and start cooking some pork butt. All right, we're out here now at our 30 Premier. I'm going to go ahead and stick the pork butt on the grill, and since it's the only thing I'm cooking, I'm going to put it right in the middle of the grill. Now, you want to just make sure it's nice and in the center of the grill. Now if you're doing multiple pork butts, you can turn it this way and put more on, or you can actually get up to another one here and another one here. You can get up to 6 pork butts on this grill if you really wanted to. Today we're just doing one because a pork butt will feed about 20 to 25 people. One pork butt will, because you can generally plan on about 25 to 30 sandwiches off of one pork butt. Now we're going to let that go for about 2 hours, and then we're going to come back outside and turn it up to 225. And then after, we're initially letting that smoke get into it at 180 at that lower temperature with our 100% pellets. Now today I'm using a combination of our cherry and our mesquite. You can kind of see the two different colors here. Our family makes 100% that flavor wood pellet. Like here's our mesquite right here, and then there's our cherry right next to it. You can see the two colored profiles on each one of those and know which is which. And with that, we don't put a base wood in our pellets at all. We rely on the customer to where he can make his own blend how he sees fit. It's been 2 hours, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the grill up to 225. And because we've already got enough smoke into our pork pork butt, I'm gonna go ahead and speed up the cooking process just a little bit, but I don't wanna go over 225. I wanna leave it going at 225 to still put some nice subtle smoke into our pork butt. All right, our pork butt's been cooking for approximately 6 hours. We're gonna check the temperature to see where we're at. And we're a little over 160. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and wrap the pork butt now. Because when you reach 160, you wanna go ahead and wrap it to help hold in that last bit of moisture that pork butt has. I always put mine in a pan, then I take the foil and go right over top. And we were cooking at 225. Now we're going to turn it up to 250. We're going to go for approximately 2 hours until the pork butt reaches 195 degrees. All right, we've been cooking for 2 hours now. Now I'm coming out here, I want to make sure we're above the 195, and we're sitting at 204. So we're good to take this off. What we're going to do is we're going to take it off. We're going to put it in a place to rest. Now you can do multiple places to rest. You can use a cooler, but if you're going to use a cooler, make sure you throw some newspaper and stuff in the bottom of it, because that'll help soak up the humidity that this pork butt will put off. Or you can put it right in your oven. If you're going to put it in your oven, go ahead and put another layer of foil over top of it to help insulate it. The main reason is you want to let the pork rest for a good 20 to 30 minutes before you go to pull it. It'll pull a lot easier, and then later on, whenever you have leftovers, it'll warm up a lot better too. It won't be turned into mush. Set that in there with the newspaper, and we're going to go ahead and let it rest for about 20 minutes. All right, it's been 20 minutes. Our pork's been resting in the cooler. So now what I've got a meat cleaver that I'm gonna use. I'm gonna show you why. A lot of people will pull it with forks. I like to use a meat cleaver because there's some things that you can accomplish with using a meat cleaver that you can't accomplish with using a fork. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab it out of the cooler. Now what you want to be careful in when you take this foil off, it's going to be very hot. And there's also a lot of grease in this pan. So try to keep it as level as possible. All right. Now how I start with is I'll take the cap and I'll peel that off, set that up here first. Then I'll take that and I'll cut that up. And I'll lay that in the bottom of my pan. It's got a lot of good flavor that's still there. It's still going to add nice and juicy flavor. Now then I'll come back here and I'll grab a hold of this bone and I'll be able to pull a section of it up. Now this is very hot. Some people will use hot gloves or they'll use tongs or other things called bear paws. What I'm going to do is go ahead and slide that out. And now you can see I've got a really clean bone here from allowing it to rest. You can see there's hardly any meat left on that bone. We cooked it to the right and proper temperature. Now I'm going to take this and I'll just take my meat cleaver and just kind of let it break itself apart. Let the weight of the cleaver come through it. And see how it's easily going apart? And I'll take it just like that, kind of leaving it in bigger chunks. And then I'll put that in the pan now. And I'm leaving it in chunks and I'll explain to you why. In just a second. Now we're going to go ahead and keep on going with more of this pork butt. Again, just kind of let the weight of the cleaver bring it down. It'll kind of push. This saves your hands from getting hot and burning yourself. And see how that's just kind of pulling apart just like that. Just with that. Again, you don't want to get it too fine. You just let the little pieces like that, just like they are. You don't worry about getting it down to the perfect size or anything. You just kind of pull it apart. And then you can also, your cleaver doubles as a scoop. And again, I warn you, and now if you wanted to, another trick to do that some people do is they'll take jersey gloves, those knit gloves, put on, and then put a food safe or sanitary glove over top of that, because those jersey gloves will act like a little insulation for it. We're going to leave that piece for a little bit later because I want to talk a little bit about that. But see how that just kind of pulls apart? Now, some people will sit there and they'll pick every little fat piece out that they see. I personally don't believe in that. I throw everything in the pork butt as I can. Now, there are some bigger pieces sometimes in pork butts that, yeah, you do want to pull that out. But the majority of the time you can leave everything in the butt, because what we're going to do to this, we're going to go ahead and put a little bit more seasoning on it when we're done. And we're also going to put a little bit of sauce. I always put about 1 cup of barbecue sauce per pork butt. The reason being, it helps keep it moist and tender, because what we're going to do, now this chunk here, you saw me just kind of be able to slide that right out. In competitions, they call that the money muscle, that little piece right there. And normally you could cut that up into like little medallions. Since we're not worried about competition today, we're just going to chop it up. But that's usually the best part of a pork butt, is that little guy right there. And whenever you do that money muscle, you can kind of see the pink coloring there, the smoke ring. You want to have a real sharp knife. You see how that meat cleaver just kind of destroyed it. You take a sharp knife, you slice it down like medallions, and it turns out really good. But then now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put this on here. And now, and you see how quick I did that. I was able to do that pretty quick. But we get all your stuff out. Now you're going to take your seasoning that you use. We've been using plus the kitchen sink on this. So I'm going to sprinkle a little bit more seasoning on it. All right. Just a little bit. Then I'm going to take some Craig's Original barbecue sauce. And usually I put about 1 cup of barbecue sauce for every butt. But I just sprinkle it all right on the top. Just like that. Alright, at this stage there's 2 things you can do. You can put a piece of foil over it, and you can put it in the refrigerator overnight and then warm it up the next day at 250 in your oven while you have other stuff on your grill, so you're not tying up your grill reheating the pulled pork. Or you can put it right back on your grill for 20 minutes. And that 20 minutes you want to take it and you want to cover it tight with foil. Anytime you're reheating stuff, you want to take it you want to make sure it gets a real tight seal around there. And then what we're going to do, we're going to put this back on the grill. And you noticed I didn't really pull it. I just chopped it right now. We're going to put this back on the grill and let it go for 20 minutes. And then we're going to pull it off. I'm going to show you why we just chopped it instead of pulled it. All right, we're out here to get the pulled pork. It's been on here for about 20 minutes. Now, if you're going to want to leave it on there a little longer, you can. You can just turn the heat down. I'm going to go ahead and make sure you have something to grab it with. It's going to be very hot. Now we're going to go inside. I'm going to show you why we chunked it rather than pulled it right away. I'm going to go ahead and peel this foil off. And again, just don't put your face over it. Just roll it back. Let that come out. Now you go ahead and you see how that sauce kind of baked into it, same with the seasoning. Now you take a pair of tongs, you sit here and you twist it. See how great that looks? Looks like freshly pulled pork. And this works the same way even on the day after. So now you got a nice freshly pulled pork. It's not mushy. It's got some chunks attached to it, and it's perfect. Now we'll be making a sandwich with this and be ready to go. Thank you again for watching us today with our Smokin Brothers pork butt. If you need anything at all, just reach out to us at smokinbrothers.com.